Happy birthday, Brahma.
Well, thank you.
I'm not singing the song because then we'll
No.
get a copyright strike. So
No, yeah, that would be something YouTube. It'll be some automated service out of Europe that will like send you a copyright strike.
Well, Mags and Yeti or not Mags and Yeti. Mags and Bat Tom took care of it last night because we were still streaming when it rolled over to midnight. So yeah, we already got the birthday song out of the way. And Mags probably does it better than any of us would anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a beautiful singer.
I
My
imagine
vocal
that about
talent
you.
Is it's unparalleled.
Well, we're gonna have fun.
I'm serious.
Yeah. So yeah, we've established recently that Mads, myself, Brahma, and apparently Yeti as well are all in the zone of parents being bored during the winter, and then resulting in birth around August, September time.
Right around that week in between Christmas and New Year's, it seems, for a lot of people.
Well, I'll say this: my father was stationed in Alaska at the time, so I'm sure winters up there were even more like, what is it? The line from Mystery Alaska? Like that makes me like, I play hockey and I sleep with women because those are the only two things that you can do to stay warm during the winter.
Nice.
But it's so good to have Brahma here to celebrate his birthday, have some fun. We're gonna talk about a couple things that I think are going to be pretty interesting because Slender is going to talk about a different kind of take on the Starfield stuff. Everyone's getting so sucked into just the pronoun question, and obviously Culture had a lovely show that you were a part of, Brahma, the last week that both me and Slender viewed.
That is where this originated because I watched that show, and I think everybody made good points, and then well, we're only at 2 minutes 40 seconds, so they made really good points, and then they all crapped the bed.
Yeah, it was well, everybody had the I don't think
other
Brahma
people
did.
made good points. I thought I was the only one who did that.
I will say this for
well, of course you made a good point, Brahma. I made that same point in the chat.
I'm gonna say that I think Brahma was actually the most coherent and good at making his points.
Yes,
and got completely ignored. Yeah, he got completely ignored because he wasn't raising his voice. He wasn't yelling across people. He wasn't just like, and obviously that didn't get the attention.
So Brahma was the little dog in the room full of fire, but instead of the room full of fire, he was actually sitting in the church in the first. What was the one with the British spies? And then the dude used the sound to make everybody kill each other.
Oh, are you talking about Kingsman?
Yeah, he was that little dog in the fire, but he was sitting in the church of the Kingsmen where everybody was murdering each other. And he was just like, this is fine.
So he was the guy with like the headphones that blocked the signal while everyone else was trying to just straight up murder each other.
Noise canceling headphones. Didn't think of that, did you?
You know what? That would be a perfect for the Legion of Memers to like start putting everybody's faces on for when they're doing a fight on like on the comics channels. Like put your like start mixing in over Colin Firth's character at different points when he's just going after people.
Well, and that's the thing. It's always gaming. And as someone who gaming is extremely near and dear to my heart, I had an Atari back when Atari was a thing. My uncle's Commodore 64 broke and he gave it to me, and I put that thing back together so that I could play Commodore 64 games. I had a Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, everything all the way up to now. And it's like, every time people argue about a game, it's whataboutism, it's deflection, it's apples to oranges comparisons, and then it just degrades into mudslinging. Just everybody making personal attacks that have nothing to do with games. And it makes me sad because We're better than this, gamers. We're better than this. So
Well,
I'm going
I
to talk
think-
about how to argue
Yeah.
games.
I think we're all old enough to remember when this whole thing, like, do you remember that? Like this, I feel like this was the granddaddy of the. Was it that? All right, so that Sega CD game where they had like the girls in nighties. I don't know. Remember if that came out before? I feel like it was after Mortal Kombat.
Right around the same time, actually.
Yeah,
I think
they were really close, but those were the two games that just lit the entire Tipper Gore Moms Coalition on fire about video games. Because Mortal Kombat, they had every kid was super excited to get and I think it was a Genesis system seller. Because if you remember, the Super Nintendo version didn't have the blood.
it had sweat
It had sweat instead because Nintendo didn't want to have blood.
because they knew the rating system was coming.
Yeah, so
It had already been kind of it had been foreseen that the rating system was coming.
Yeah, so Sega went all in and was like, "F it, and it sold like hotcakes." Because I remember I was also able to get Lethal Enforcers, the light gun game for Sega, and that one had blood too, and that was an awesome game, by the way. That light gun was a giant like 357 like Magnum revolver looking light gun. It was pretty cool. But that's the stage, right? People forget that this fight was going on before the blood argument. People were just arguing that video games were just rotting kids' brains, as an
which
argument.
Is also provably false.
Which I think some people on the show that you were on, Brahma, were still making the point that video games are just the waste of time, and then that is kind of a root cause of some ill will towards gaming. But it's these arguments aren't new. Now we're arguing about it from a pronoun perspective, and Lofty and some of those other people being there, and Mad definitely set that time bomb. But it's like the same arguments. If you're old enough to have been around, Brahma, do you feel like you're kind of seeing the same arguments on repeat?
Yeah, to a degree. And honestly, a lot of politicians on the Republican side keep making that same argument, no matter how stupid it is. I think they think that it will ingratiate them to a certain group of voters. But
it's a really bad idea. Understand, most adult gamers skew conservative. They really do. Now, developers and everybody else, not so much, but the gamers skew conservative.
To certain markets of games, yes.
I would say libertarian conservative for some. Like that, like Ron was saying, it depends on the game you're playing. Like, I mean, the people who are buying.
If you are playing
Animal
Farmville,
Crossing,
you are not a gamer.
Right,
Animal
but
Crossing,
there's a lot of the fighting game community is definitely not right-leaning.
No.
I'll give you that.
Yes, especially like the hardcore, like Smash. Smash isn't a conservative bent, group. I mean, look, PAX does the fighting game tournaments, and they're not at all like right-leaning. PAX East, PAX West. I don't.
No,
do they?
But I
guess
wouldn't say they swing. I wouldn't say they swing liberal or progressive either. A lot of them are, like you said, libertarians.
Yeah, what we've seen in the past few years, though, is even like Video Games Done Quick, the fundraiser thing that they do twice a year, once in the summer and once in the winter. They have bowed to the pronoun stuff so much, it's just ridiculous. The fact that the people who are doing announcing, but the people who are doing the announcing are sitting there trying to dance around words and pronouns the whole time.
Well, let's not forget that was it Frost was started as a game announcer for
League of Legends, I think.
League of Legends, yeah. So I mean, that's the kind of community that's in gaming too. But I think that's not a bad thing. Gaming is open to everybody, and I like it that way. That's how it should be. You want to play a game, pick up the game, play the game, have a good time playing the game. But there's some things where you can be, it's just like any other art form, right? There's objective things you can criticize. Then there's subjective things, like some games I love that are subjectively something I like, but objectively not the best games. I really liked Dynasty Warriors, and it was the same game again and again. It was a button masher. You would just be killing hundreds of people a screen. You'd be wiping out, Battle of the Yellow Turban, play that one forever. It wasn't objectively a fantastic game. It didn't have a lot of deep mechanics. I mean, some people argued later that they started adding in stuff, but it was just kind of window dressing to simulate an RPG. But
I disagree.
You disagree that it was a deep game?
I think there was depth to that game.
Oh, when they started adding
depending
like
upon where you
components.
pushed, when you were going toward paths and objectives, depending upon where you pushed, how successful you were, it could change the way that the battle was going in other parts of the map and cause you to have to divert to that part. You could
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, the loot mechanics, the weapon mechanics, the armor build. Like they started in some of the later Dynasty.
I wouldn't say there was anything that would be considered subpar. Overall, I think when you take the sum of the parts on that game, it was a great game.
It was great for what I enjoyed, but it was never like a game of the year kind of game. It was never super deep. Anyway, I guess I picked the wrong one because Slender's got fond memories of it too. I would say even Mortal Kombat, up until some of the newer entries, and by newer for me that means the last like 15 years, it was the inferior fighting experience compared to like Marvel vs. Capcom and some of that. It was fun. It had, the blood, but I thought those were better fighters.
Yeah, I think most of the fighting game community up until about Mortal Kombat 9 would agree that the MVC series was probably the most competitive outside of maybe Smash. I mean, there are a lot of people devoted to Smash, but it's a completely different style of fighting game. But Marvel vs. Capcom, that from 2 and 3, I mean, those things lived on forever. People are still doing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 tournaments.
That is still the hardest. I have looked for, the arcade, like Arcade 1-Up, the ones who make the consoles that you can buy. The Marvel vs. Capcom one is like nigh difficult to, like, you can't find that one.
Right.
I can find, like, I can find T2, I can find Tron, I can find Turtles, you can get all the rest of them, but because Marvel vs. Capcom is the one that I'm like, I really want that. I was holding out, and they did the online enabled one where you could actually play people, so you didn't have to, if you didn't have someone in your house who wanted to play.
Right.
And it's just it hasn't ever been available. And I was hoping for it to come down a little in price. And then obviously the entire world inflated everything that you buy. So I just can't justify buying it now.
That'll never happen now.
Now it's just
honestly though, as far as fighting games goes, I have always preferred Soul Calibur and Tekken because I like to have a 3D space to fight in. Like I want to be able to step to the left and the right, not just forward and back.
Yeah, as long as you're not saying Virtua Fighter.
Virtua Fighter was garbage.
Soul Calibur has been one of my favorite series. I've played every game in that series. It's a good fighting game. But as far as competitive fighting games go, the whole ring out thing makes it a little bit different than the rest of the competitive fighting games.
Yeah.
Just because of the ring out. But I do they have brought in, a lot more combos in the newer games to where it's an actual combo system. It's still paper, rock, scissor. And it's a lot different from Marvel vs. Capcom in that the top players in Marvel vs. Capcom, if they touch you once, it's over. I mean, that's the way the fighting game community is.
Yeah, they can get that combo going and you're just done. Yeah, you're just you will never touch the controller again until the next round because there's no reason to, unless they miraculously drop a combo that they've been doing for 20 years now. They're not going to let you live. So, I mean, each of the games is a little bit different in and of itself. It's the fighting, watching a high level fighting game pro player kind of thing reminds me of when you see the videos of the people who can do like the Rubik's Cube and they're just not even looking and they got their fingers twitching and they finish it within like 20 seconds or less.
Yeah.
I think the record is like 4 or 5 seconds for a Rubik's Cube. And
Yeah.
it's because they learned there's basically an algorithm of movement to solve the Rubik's Cube. And once you learn it and it's just kind of training
Becomes second
yourself.
nature.
And that's what fighting game guys do. You learn the combos, you train the combo, and then you get and then you just do it.
Yeah,
and
they spend so little time actually playing the game. What they do is they sit in the training mode and they just sit there and learn new tech, just going against the computer and, getting that finger memorization of the combo. And yeah, then when it comes time to execute it, it's second nature to them.
Well, we got another one of these
What's up, Yeti?
surprise board winner babies coming into is coming in to join.
I did not like coming in when he was talking about fingering, and that was not what I wanted to hear.
Yeti, which was your favorite fighting game? Everybody's got a favorite fighter.
Well, okay, easy choice is Scorpion, but also Mortal Kombat, it would have been Glacius.
You mean Killer Instinct?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Glacius and Killer Instinct,
Yeah.
Scorpion and Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So so all this was going back to the topic that Slender kind of want to talk about based on this. It all goes back to the nightmare that was the Starfield debate, bringing Lofty and Toxic Man flew together to discuss on Culture Stream last week.
I mean, it wasn't just Lofty and Toxic.
Yeah,
so
it was
everybody. Everybody was throwing
I feel
shade.
like Mad Genius Machismo was in the background making the list on purpose of people to have on there.
Of that, I have very little doubt.
And we know
Bride of Slender says everything that sucks about fighting games can be summed up in a few words. Get over here. I mean, yeah, I guess.
No, I was even better in the later games when you could jump off the back of the screen and come in on the other side and hit him in the back of the head.
Yep.
Well,
and Scorpion was Ed Boon's favorite character, so he was always a little bit better than everybody else, just to a degree.
He's my favorite, so I have no problems with that.
I like Smoke and Cyrax.
Yeah.
From Cyrax from Mortal Kombat 3 was one of, I played Mortal Kombat 3 in the arcade daily for like a year, so
nice.
I got very good at it. Created my own combos.
Oh, did you remember you go walking up, putting the quarter on the panel for next game? I miss going to an actual arcade and playing, because the arcade I went to at that era also had a Killer Instinct cabinet, and man, Killer Instinct was so much better in the arcade than any of the ones that ever got ported into the home systems.
Dude, for us it was the Ninja Turtles arcade cabinet. Man, oh man, we must have kept that pizza joint going with that arcade cabinet.
Bad take, Bojan. I'm sold. My favorite fighting game is Donkey Kong. I guess that sort of qualifies. Maybe Joust was probably the first fighter. But
Pong.
And here's a question, because I know Slender wanted to kind of talk about the history of gaming as a front in the like pop culture wars with politics.
It's a very old front in the pop culture wars, honestly.
Maybe the first.
I think rock and roll music was one of the first, probably, where media jumped onto it.
Yeah.
But
probably the first.
I think because rock and roll music had there was a lot of different political elements that people were bringing in. There was the devil part. There was the people who were mixing in the race-based accusations against people like Elvis and things like that. And obviously it coincided to its post-war era where people were trying to find stuff like that. But aside from that, I do think video games was probably the first one that ever touched internet. Like the internet, it was the first pop culture front that the internet was 100% involved in. And that does make a big difference.
First internet battle.
Yeah, because but there was like the music battle before that, where again Tipper Gore and people think it was conservatives, but it was a wife of a Democratic senator who led that parental rights group, and it was a lot of Democrat politicians that were in on it. They were the
So-
ones who went to war with musicians about CDs being labeled, and that's where they voluntarily came up with the music labeling system, the parental rights, the parental advisory warning, and which
Back when
became
D. Snyder fought against the man instead of joining them.
yeah.
So wouldn't you call that counterculture? Because they're fighting against so much of the elements that, well, today they're just accepting.
Counterculture. What we used to call being counterculture, I think, is now the culture wars. I mean, the terms evolved. I mean, it's kind
And
of
the people too, man. It's
well, I think
punk is not what it used to be. Now you got punk artists that are like
They are the
raging
machine.
for the machine. It's gone ass backwards.
Yeah, Brahma made the good point about D. Snyder. We're not. He was like, we're not going to take it. Shut your mouth, put your mask on. Right. I was like, whoa, the Mister. You're famous for we're not going to take it. Going in front of Congress with Frank Zappa and
he gave an amazing speech.
Was it Pat Boone, Frank Zappa, and D. Snyder going up there and like basically railing against, because it's First Amendment, right? There's a right to create art. Now I do agree with the idea that you can consume the art you want to, but this whole thing then morphed right into video games, because I don't think they got what they wanted with music, because they were trying to attack music with its influence on children. And it went back to also, some of the Satan worshiping stuff they tried to lean into in the 80s too, through heavy metal. That never really took off the same way. But for some reason, video games have stayed with politicians for 40 years now. They've felt like games are the reason every bad thing that any kid's ever done. It's all video games, right?
Well, it's also easier to influence, because with artists and music, you've got so many different bands that are made up with 4 or 5 different people, where you've got companies that you can get employed into and then start invoking change that way.
Bobby's the latest Mortal Kombat movie. What a waste of an actor and a character who did Scorpion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things bad about that movie. Scorpion was one of them. But what do you think, Slender? I mean, you're I think researched into this. So where do you want to go from here on this topic? I want to let you go.
I've actually been doing a lot of research pretty much all week, but I think I want to open it up because there were specific key things that I started researching right off the bat, and I was like, oh man, I'm not going to get good data on this. But we were all alive. We probably all remember this. Why don't each of you tell me what you thought Gamergate was?
I knew I was going to go to Gamergate. I was going to yell it out before you finished too.
Then Yeti, what was Gamergate?
Well, that was just like a fight against bought media. Media that was paid for reviews.
Oh, IGN. Like, to me, they exposed the shit out of IGN for being like the worst shit, like the monies, and they were being knee deep in being bought reviews. It was now what Gamergate became afterwards, for everybody else. I'm with Yeti. It was, for me, it was always, because I used to read some of those games media places. It was showing me. It's a lot like what Rotten Tomatoes got exposed for doing just this last week, which was buying reviews, right? The industry was purchasing the reviews for their product.
You start a hero and live long enough to see yourself become a villain.
All right. I'm sure. Brahma, you got anything different?
To be honest with you, Gamergate was before I was really plugged into any of this stuff. I mean, I was playing games, but I've heard the term thrown around tons of times and in the Fellowship and everything else. And honestly, it was nothing that I was ever aware of. I was still a normie to what you guys were talking about over here, and
you could still
on that.
You could still see it being tied in. Every like month or several months, a new article come out and then blame this thing on Gamergate. So they're still bringing it back.
See, during that time period, I was probably playing World of Warcraft, and whatever Dark Souls game was the newest one. I wasn't paying attention to any games coming out besides those. So I really didn't care. I didn't have the magazines. I didn't even, I mean, I wasn't even going on GameFAQs anymore. And I had lived on GameFAQs in the 90s and 2000s.
All right. Well, here's the thing. Yeti and Lil Chad are both very right. It started with that, and I do believe that eventually it became somewhat aligned against the feminist movement, specifically because the feminist movement was telling us that the female game characters set unrealistic beauty standards and needed to be, quote, fixed.
And yet every male character ever is shirtless with like an 8-pack giant pecs, you know, like the alpha male, and that's okay. Like there's no double standard there. But
yeah, I remember
you have
that
a
about
pretty
King
looking
Hippo.
girl, and they lost their minds.
Yeah, and the thing of it was too, like, they wanted to make characters less skinny and beautiful, and so the problem with that was, one of the first characters I watched them, they gave her like fat thighs, and like they filled out her stomach and made it like too big. And the problem with that was, this girl, according to Street Fighter lore, was a world champion Muay Thai fighter. It's like a world champion Muay Thai fighter would not have fat thighs. I'm sorry,
talking about Cammy?
No, it wasn't.
Which one are you talking about? Chun-Li or?
I don't. It's a later one. It's one I don't remember. It wasn't in one of the original Street Fighters, but
Okay.
it was just the one that I.
Chun-Li too.
Chun-Li.
Well, they gave her thighs.
She's never had fat thighs, but she's had huge thighs. But no, they made these girls fat. Another one they made fat was Riku from Final Fantasy 8, 10. Final Fantasy 10.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, Riku wouldn't be fat. Those people are like, they probably barely get enough to eat.
Well, and here's the thing that always threw me off about that whole debate. It's like, do they not know what happens when people exercise? Like, you don't stay fat. If you're a Muay Thai fighter, like you're gonna slim down because you're using up so many calories. If
you are a world champion Muay Thai fighter, you're gonna have like 1% body fat.
Yeah, Chun-Li, Cammy, those are quality.
Yeah, we just got a Culture Casino raid.
Yay!
So
Thanks
to everybody coming over.
Hello, everyone here coming from Culture's channel may be familiar. We're bridging off of the conversation. We're continuing
a conversation that happened on a Culture stream.
That started.
I don't know that you want to mention that stream.
Yeah, on Culture's show last Sunday. But we're trying to be a little more thoughtful and take a different approach, which is kind of discussing.
Another thing about that is, like, you might be able to get away with complaining about the outfits, but the body proportions were probably not the way to go.
Yeah. Especially when all male characters are ignored.
But now, let's talk about what Wikipedia thinks Gamergate is.
Oh, God. Okay, I can't wait to hear this, because this is like morphed so many different times.
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to read for you a little bit of it, and we'll see if we want to keep going. Gamergate was a loosely organized, misogynistic online harassment campaign and a right-wing backlash against feminism, diversity, and progressivism in video game culture. It was conducted using the hashtag Gamergate primarily in 2014 and 15. Beginning in August 2014, Gamergate targeted women in the video game industry, most notably feminist media critic Anita Sarkeesian, and video game developers Zoe Quinn and Brianna Wu, among others. The harassment campaign included doxing, rape threats, and death threats.
Except why hasn't any of those things ever been shown? Like, they don't have any documents to back it up.
I don't
know. Vice versa.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a really deep rabbit hole to try to get into unraveling Brianna Wu, Zoe Quinn, or Anita Sarkeesian, because each one of them is just a steaming pile of human terribleness. Like,
oh, God.
Brianna Wu, he, she, it, them, they, is there. Yep, Culture Casino. Hello, thanks for sending your chat over.
Culture.
Appreciate it. Yeah, this is from Austin Powers. Yes, that's a dude, Brianna Wu, and who has now run, I think, for Democratic political campaigns for the last like 10, 12 years. So there's that. Zoe Quinn is a grifter and a half, where
major grifter.
She like the Brahma, to give you the Cliff Notes version of how she was really the heart of what Gamergate started as. She got exposed for having relations with a journalist who was then reviewing the work product she was doing, and then also negatively reviewing ex-boyfriend's work product. So, which led to the exposure of, a whole bunch of like internal communications where game journalists were sharing and giving all sorts of stuff. Anyway,
and
I don't think we need to
kill himself.
Yeah. And then Anita Sarkeesian has been she is, we've got a lot of people being indicted under RICO statutes for corruption. She's a classic example of a enterprise corruption, which in organized crime terms is you've got a nice business there, shame if something happened to it. That's what her entire grift was for about 10 years. She would go to these game companies and be like, hey, you got a nice game company there, Activision. It'd be a shame if someone called you misogynist and tried to go after you. Why don't you pay me $50,000 to come speak at your events? And they would do it.
Yeah.
Well, and then some would listen, like BioWare. That's when BioWare fell apart.
Yeah.
But
Right
I'm really glad, Lil Chad, that you got into that, because now I want to read the next two paragraphs for you.
Okay, go ahead. What are the next two?
Gamergate proponents stated that they were a social movement, but lacked well-defined goals, a coherent message, and leaders, making Gamergate difficult to define. Gamergaters claimed to promote ethics in video games journalism, claimed to be protecting the gamer identity, and opposed what they asserted as political correctness in video games. Gamergaters created conspiracy theories, falsely accusing Quinn of an unethical relationship with video game journalist Nathan Grayson. More broadly, they alleged unethical collusion between the press and feminists, progressives, and social critics. These claims were widely dismissed as trivial conspiracy theories, baseless or unrelated to actual issues of ethics in gaming and journalism. Gamergate supporters frequently denied that the harassment took place, falsely claiming it to be manufactured by the victims.
There's receipts. There's pictures of Anita Sarkeesian with all these developers.
I know.
There's actual receipts for this.
Oh, we're at 30 minutes. Good. We have the fucking receipts. What are you talking about?
So something that Brahma's probably more familiar with. Brahma, you probably remember the journalist stuff that came out with the political journalists colluding with each other.
Yeah.
So Gamergate started, it was a little bit ahead of that, where it exposed the same kind of thing, where they had, basically chat groups and, and email lists that they were all threading together, where they would come up with the review that would be, like, what's going to be the general consensus for this game that we're all going to point out and do that.
Collusion at the highest levels.
Like the government did with Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Which is funny because they act like it's all unknown, but like Yeti said, this stuff came out. There were screenshots of all these chats and all that stuff. And then it moved from games journalism to, once people started looking at that, it wasn't too long after that journalist, which was the same concept being applied to political journalism, where they were in chat groups and coming up with they were getting fed daily talking points that as journalists they would start pushing to help their agenda. And what it tells me is journalists, for lack of a better term, are bought and sold on one side of the aisle, and that's what you're going to get unless you get, like, that's why YouTube and gaming YouTube and Twitch and all the others got as big as they were, because they were the bastions of the actual independent reviewer at that point.
Right. Yeah, and I remember when GameFAQs, the guy who ran GameFAQs originally, said he would never sell out, and then it became part of IGN.
Yeah, IGN is like the worst.
It, guys, I'm gonna share something.
Okay.
Share screen. I want to share this one. No, this one. Yeah, this was where it all started back in the day. That girl from Tekken 5 is supposed to be a Muay Thai champion.
Oh God,
that's what they made her look like because that's more realistic.
That's not real. Oh God, that looks horrifying.
Wait, what happened? What they do? Are these fake ones? Or
yeah, I think these are fake.
These aren't real. This is what this website did to fix video game characters.
The Bulimia Project.
Yeah, because if you're exploring tombs and climbing all over the place and doing crazy shit like Lara Croft, you're probably gonna have a muffin top.
Happy birthday, Brahma. There you go.
But this whole look at that.
Oh, what the hell, man? You should not be wearing a mini skirt if you got that body.
I feel like whoever did this design is the same person who did the new April O'Neil for Mute Mayhem. Because that's
one of the main things that kicked off a lot of people with Gamergate.
Yeah,
was this kind of crap right here.
And it went from games right into comics. So games was the first start, and then games, comics got real heated.
I do believe games predated comics. The comics weren't as big an issue. I just think because they weren't as popular.
Yeah, so I think it led because there was a big movement of the alternative media, and games were becoming more and more popular, like more popular than movies. But then movies started doing the comic book thing, and comic books started gaining traction. They're like, oh, we got to jump on this. So they were just jumping to bandwagons.
Griffin might have nailed it. This isn't a correct things. This was someone's specific fetish, plain and simple, and they were just changing it.
Yeah, and I will agree with my my Bride of Slender in the chat. This is not new. This was back in I think 2014, 2015 when Gamergate was just kicking off. But it's like this has been going on for a while, and the unfortunate thing is, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and maybe find some more stuff to share. But the unfortunate thing is, the more I think about it, the more I realize we lost.
Well, it's not that I don't think we lost.
We lost.
I don't know, man.
If we're looking at games today, as things are getting more photorealistic, everything is getting uglier. I mean, just look at the models for the new. I mean, you could play
Fable. The new Fable game. Oh my fucking god.
Fable's pretty bad. Street Fighter 6 looks horrible. Marvel vs. Capcom and Infinite was bad. The new Mortal Kombat that's coming out in a month or so, there are some character models in that just look horrible.
Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn versus her Horizon Forbidden West. They made her gain like 40 pounds.
Yeah, so and then in Mortal Kombat, like all the female characters look that they're hit in the face with a frying pan. Like they just beat them up bad.
The character redesign on Tanya is one of the ugliest redesigns I have ever seen in my life.
I think I saw a picture of the original motion capture actress for Tanya. Like she's in her 60s now, and she looks better.
Good. That
was better again.
Well, that was Sonya. Crap. Tanya was a character from Mortal Kombat 4 on.
Yeah, but Sonya. She
was 60. I guess.
Yeah, she could still play that character. I don't care.
Are we talking about Carrie Hoskins?
I don't know her name. It's just
the original motion capture chick for Sonya. She also did motion capture for a few other characters, I think.
She is 53 years old, and if that is a real photo, she still looks pretty good.
Yeah, she still got it.
Did you find the photo?
I found a photo on Wikipedia. I'll share it. Share screen. Carrie Ann Hoskins here.
Yeah, she's still looking good.
Still looking pretty good.
Oh yeah, the picture was her and she was celebrating in the outfit.
Oh, she has also modeled for Playboy magazine.
So careful with your searches when you're live.
Yeah.
Don't
click on the
images tab when I'm searching.
It's like I'll have to be the one who just cuts off the stream today instead of Slender.
Right.
But
Don't you
so
take that away from me.
I think the reason games are getting a lot more attention in the last 12 years is because they are owning the youth market like television and movies used to. In a way,
multi-billion dollars.
It's the highest earning industry right now out of the entertainment sphere.
I think by far.
Yeah, so the people who want to capture the key nodes in infrastructure, right? You want entertainment, you want education, and you want the ecclesial, stuff too. You want to take over the churches, you want to take over the schools, and you want to take over entertainment, because if you do those three things, you can turn youth within one generation to whatever mode you want it. So, and
oh man, oh shit, I had a real good point and I totally forgot about it.
and that's why this is when we do the Starfield argument and debate. I feel I understand the point. I agree with not wanting to. I think the choice of putting pronouns in or not should be your choice, to optional completely, right?
Okay,
I don't think it should be forced on you.
I do got to respond to this quick. If we lost, explain Ghost of Tsushima. Well, Ghost of Tsushima was a really good game, but male characters aren't being held to, ridiculous no standards. They have like real body standards for males. The main character in that game was very fit. He was.
There's a lot of developers and like
but
producers.
Look at most of the females in that game. Like none of them was a knockout by any means. They were all kind of ugly.
That was also a Japanese game, and Japan has been real steadfast against this woke crap. Like they just
that wasn't a Japanese game.
It wasn't. That
Ghost
was
of
not.
Tsushima, I believe, was made by a Canadian studio. Now Japan thought it was really awesome.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That was the controversy behind that one. Yeah, it like people are freaking out. Oh, it wasn't made by the Japanese, and the Japanese were like, "This thing is so accurate. It's awesome." Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you are right about that, Slender.
Yeah. Okay. Their headquarters it's not Canadian. It is Bellevue, Washington, United States. So it's that's
right there on the. That's like a hop,
more
skip,
like
and a jump from
Russia.
Vancouver. But yeah. They can see Russia from their house.
If we didn't lose, then why is Call of Duty now recording all your interactions, voice interactions, and using AI to ban people? Like that used to be the place where you learn how to talk smack to each other.
I know, but that part of that is when we started seeding the online gaming to like the services like Xbox Live and the other ones. Yeah. Once they were being over these, being carried over the massive, corporate side, they were going to get ESG'd into, content moderation. The glory days are using that term loosely of the Call of Duty chat room, where when you were playing through like, when you did the play online built in through the actual like COD servers. And man, those things were, my father, who was Sergeant Major, wouldn't be able to sit, hold up to some of that stuff. And
which Jeremy D-Day Cobra has made that point many, many times. I mean, most people would not be able to survive Call of Duty lobby anymore.
So I have
God, no, they wouldn't.
I have brothers-in-law who are of mixed race, right? And they said the most horrific things I've ever heard 12-year-olds say when they would be playing COD online.
Yeah.
And I was like, you guys can't say that. And you're like, whatever, we can say it. And when other people would say like stuff too, like, people might sound a little rednecky or whatever, they didn't care. They would just be like, I'm gonna go like, don't worry, I'm gonna go F your mom later and it'll be fine, and
when a 7-year-old is saying that to you and then calling you the N-word 5 seconds later.
Exactly. And
squeaky little voiced, kids
that was annoying
screaming at you.
I didn't care what they're saying, but it was so hard to play when it was like the 12-year-olds with the squeaky voice. Like that killed online gaming for me because I didn't want to play with that. It was just way too annoying.
Okay, here's another one that I think we should discuss a little bit. Body positivity isn't for dudes, and these broads say it openly.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. I don't want body positivity, but I don't want it for women either. I don't think anyone should have body positivity. I think there should be standards, and your good friends should kind of hold you to those standards to a certain degree.
If not
your doctor,
standards, yeah. If not look standards, at least health standards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe we can agree on that. Like, because that's a real easy baseline, health standards.
Dude,
right?
If one of my buddies got as big as Lizzo, I'd be like, man, you've got to lose some weight or you're going to die.
Yes, yeah. And
your heart can't handle this. We're in our 40s now. Put down the fucking fork.
I'm going to say one thing, though. Lizzo could have the right body to compete at an elite level in one fighting tournament. That's sumo wrestling.
No, she's a woman, dude. She'd still lose. She doesn't have the testosterone for it.
Don't they have a women's division?
I've never seen that.
Because nobody wants to see that.
nobody wants to see that.
Base Japan, they don't have women's division for sumo. They got the slender little girls in kimonos serving out there.
I mean, from that show that we watched earlier this year that was on Netflix, I never can remember the name of it. The one that's specifically about sumos. Women aren't even supposed to be anywhere near the dojos that they're, practicing, getting ready to go into sumo.
And those guys are in much better shape than I think a lot of people give them credit. They're like beasts.
They're athletes.
Yeah.
They're just large athletes.
Yes. Yeah.
Because their whole thing is the ability to balance in all situations. They have to keep their balance, and keeping that much weight balanced can't be easy. But yeah,
I mean,
they train hard.
There's a lot of muscle under that fat too. No.
Well, yeah, some of the best ones, they're not as big as what you picture some of the sumo wrestlers would be. They're obviously big guys, but they're not that crazy obese level. It's you can tell there's a guy in there that can kick your ass.
This is might be my favorite chat of the night.
Lizzo
versus Gorlock and sumo. My money's on Gorlock the Devourer.
Well, mine would be too, because Gorlock's a dude.
Yeah, actually, yes.
That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, which says Lizzo meaner, but Gorlock is a man.
Yep.
All right,
Lou knows what I'm talking about.
So we've discussed a lot of Gamergate and a lot of the different stuff that's come along, and now I'm just going to briefly touch on the points in the argument that were happening that I saw, and how I think they were handled poorly.
Real quick before we move on from Gamergate, can I just say that I think one thing that we should remember is that Gamergate became the I guess the alpha testing for media's response to when an independent group of people came out against them. It became your misogynist, racist, your terror, and they destroyed people and got people ended, and they pressured people into and especially because there were lots of people who were being attracted to the one that comes to mind is the meme maker himself, the meme factory that was Mundane Matt, who got was sucked in part of Gamergate YouTube response, and then flipped on a dime to try to throw everybody under the bus and was doing anyway. So you got people like that who felt pressure and decided that the way was to basically name names and go after everyone else and try to say that yes, they were racist, they were terrible people, and so it became the playbook. And they used Gamergate as the alpha test, the training ground, to then be able to start applying it to any time a fandom community came out. I think that's why the media people are always so quick to lean back into Gamergate, because it's almost like the 101 class they took on how to handle fandoms that they think are making points against the narrative.
Every fandom gets listed, and Yeah.
Yep. The toxic fandom like that was toxic fandom 101 in journalism class. They probably teach Gamergate to journalism people, students, so that they can learn how to tar and
I think
feather
there
people.
was so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was an actual Gamergate class that came up.
Oh, I'm sure there
now
was.
I'm pulling deep from a memory of like a video I would have saw.
I mean, at the very
like
least,
5
it was
years ago.
probably discussed in classes all across universities. Yeah.
But how much you want to bet it was wrongly discussed, right?
Oh, I mean, look at this Wikipedia article I was reading to you guys.
Hell, I took a class that was a whole semester on the music of Bob Dylan. They'll make a class about anything.
Yeah. Like how do you teach a class? Because one, you can't use Wikipedia as a source. So the reliable sources are also the people that are
universities
perpetuating
allow
lies.
Wikipedia to be used as a source now.
Now, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, like all my teachers, if they saw that, it was an F. You put
No, that's
Wikipedia anywhere?
No, that's because when we went to school, that was they wanted you to actually. I had to go to the library, have hard sources, as they call it. Like they actually wanted you to have the articles, the bibliography, references, all that stuff. Now they have given up and allow you to use Wikipedia as a reference.
That's not good.
Because though anybody can edit it, it does have a works cited page.
Yeah.
So they consider that now a scholarly publication, which is
I
insane.
never considered it a scholarly publication, but I would go pull references from it and then use those references as my references.
Right.
Yeah, that was the smart move. That was the high IQ move.
It was
and the whole reason I wanted to talk about Gamergate and kind of go through that history is just to remind a lot of the people, especially the people who watch us, the people who do podcasts alongside us in kind of the same sphere. Dude, we're all on the same fucking team, guys. We all want better games, and we all do need to hold the people making these games to a certain standard. And you may think that it is a small thing, but that's where it always starts.
Which was my point Sunday night.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. And slippery
it's a
slope is not a
small
fucking
thing.
fallacy. It's never been a fallacy.
No.
It's and if you want the real term for it, it's called the Overton window.
Oh yeah.
And slippery slope is what people who want to pretend you're being silly when you say that. They're like, oh, the slippery slope, and because they use it to basically dismiss your argument, when the real thing is the Overton window, where they keep moving it incrementally over and over and over, and over time you've moved. It's that famous meme where it's like the person who was just left of center 10 years ago and
now on the right side of the window.
Line has moved, and now they're completely they're considered like alt-right wing,
which is accurate now.
Well, whether we trust him or not, that's what Bill Maher is basically saying is happening. I mean, Bill Maher, we know he's a lefty, and yet he's
so much TDS that he will never.
I know.
He will never be one of us. I'm sorry.
No, he won't ever be one of us. But he's saying that he's even admitting that the left has gone completely insane.
And most people, when they start to actually, wake up to it and they start to realize conservative values aren't necessarily the devil, it's like, hey, man, come on over. Welcome over. Bill Maher, I'd be like, nah, you can stay outside. I mean, we're cool, but you can stay the fuck outside.
Just go back to your set and do your show, whatever.
But, so the main thing was obviously everybody got hung up on the pronouns in the character creation. And, okay, that's not that big a deal. I get that. But if I recall correctly, Az had his rant at the end of a stream that lasted multiple hours.
And after putting in 20 hours of gameplay, maybe 30 hours of gameplay already.
This is my point. I don't think it was just the pronouns that set him off.
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
No, there's another clip of exactly what set him off.
And here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. The people who were arguing in Culture's stream kept bringing it back to the pronouns. So in essence, you were trying to straw man the argument because it wasn't the pronouns. It was the pronouns and as people who were even against ads in this argument said, the cringy dialogue that was sprinkled throughout the whole thing. I know Mad was making a joke, but I agree with him. Women in every position of power that ever could have, if there's position of power to be wielded, it's being wielded by a woman. Go play Forspoken and see if there is a single man in that wields any power, because there's not.
Or any media, like name a show or movie recently that will have a competent male figurehead.
So imagine playing a game that you were super
not
excited about. And you rode the hype train into that game. You were excited for this fucking game. And everybody loves Bethesda games, even though they're always shit. I don't know why people love them, but they're shit. The mods make games like that good. Like, I hated Skyrim when it first came out. Then the modding community made it one of my favorite games. So
they're like good at making a game, but not at making it perform well. You know what I mean? So they get a story in
platform that real developers can use to make a game.
From what I hear, if you really are interested in the gameplay that Starfield was advertising, at this you're better off getting No Man's Sky with all the
Dude, I'm planning on picking up No Man's Sky.
All the updates they've done to that. Yeah,
I bought it when it originally came out, hated it, and never went back, even though I have heard that they've fixed most of the crap.
Oh, dude, okay, so if Starfield does what No Man's Sky did, it will become one of the greatest games ever. Like, because No Man's Sky has spent years and years and years just giving free updates, making it better and better. Like, I have to give that
Starfield modding community might do that.
Yeah.
But Bethesda's not going to do that.
No, like, because they won't do anything.
Bethesda's going to re-release Starfield 5 or 6 times in the next 8 years and charge you full price every time they do.
Yeah, like one. So I started playing it because it's on the Xbox Game Pass now. So I was giving it a shot. It's got bad performance issues on PC. I think a lot of other people had that. And normally, like, I don't have that many issues with playing at a reasonably high graphic level. I've got to have mine set on low across the board, and I still get freeze frames and stutters. Like, it's not working well there. And then you'll have bouts where it's really exciting and engaging, but it's destroyed by their space flying UI and engagement. It's you have to constantly go back to the start menu to scan the planet, then set to land. There's no seamless way to go to planet. You're just playing from the start menu, which
it wants to be everything that No Man's Sky is, but it doesn't know how to do that.
It could be fixed though. Like,
No Man's Sky took years to do that. Yeah.
Going back to the argument on whether or not Az was right, because I think he's right. Now, imagine you rode that hype train. You got this game. You're super fucking excited about it. You're driving, like, you're going a full 60 miles an hour, ready to go. You get into character creation, pronouns. Now, when you're excited and you're getting really immersed in something, and you're super stoked, and something like that hits you, it's like missing a gear change. You got to go back to first gear. You've lost all your acceleration, and you got to start ramping up that hype again.
And so
then he gets into the game.
Starts to twitch in the eye a little bit.
Yeah, and then he gets into the game, and he starts playing, and he's getting immersed again, and it's starting to get good, and he's having some fun, and this is cool, and I'm loving it. Look at this new world. It's awesome. And then somebody's like, man, this planet would be so much better if not for climate change. And then it's like, missed another fucking gear change. Back in first gear. And that keeps happening every hour, every couple of hours, over and over and over throughout the course of your playthrough. Eventually, you're just going to be sick of it. Yeah. It's going to ruin the whole fucking experience for you.
And there's a lot of experience too. Like, I haven't come across those things. I haven't gone fully into the main story. I just tried to start exploring, and there is so much content in that game that you could easily get dissuaded, because coming up on all those different bullshit things.
See, now, Yeti, I've heard the exact opposite from people. I've heard there is so much space to explore, and there's absolutely nothing to do in any of it.
And Griffin in the chat is about to hit on what actually said as off. It was a mainline or a mandatory storyline thing, a character who is a black lesbian that is a clone of a male general. A female clone of a male general who is now a black lesbian.
And that's my point. You just missed another gear change. You're back in first gear for like the fifth. At this point, you dropped your transmission. You know?
Yeah. Man, your transmission is burning on the ground at that point. It fell out of the vehicle a mile back.
Sorry, Griffin, I should have waited for you to type the rest out, but I knew where you were going.
I'm going to pop it on screen just so he can still get the recognition.
The quest is done. The important is it pulls the player aside and has a confession to make. As sighed and bemoaned the expected, I'm a man, I am born trans, etc.
Yeah,
is that what happened?
Yeah, he's like, oh, she's going to be a man or something. It was kind of funny.
As called it before it happened.
Yeah, literally called it. And I saw the video. Somebody edited it, and they put music. And it was really funny because seconds afterwards, the person says, I'm a clone of a man. And then you just see him die.
Az just breaks down and then goes into the rant.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I said, when you've missed so many gear changes while you're trying to ride that hype train, eventually you drop the transmission, and that was dropping the transmission. I'll tell you right now, nothing breaks my immersion more than when I am in a fantasy world of some kind, and I feel like this is not something someone in the fantasy world would say. This is something some woke asshole from the city would say to me. You know?
Like Mass Effect 2 wouldn't be nearly as good if it had moments like that where the person, stopped you midway and like, I gotta tell you, I'm a clone of a man.
Yeah, there's just no reason for it. Like,
what was the terrible Mass Effect sequel that they did that had the terrible artwork
Andromeda.
on the designs that like all the women look like
I'm
men.
sorry, my face is tired.
So that was
and then the next point, because I think we've discussed the problem where several people got hung up and were arguing back and forth for a long time. It wasn't just about the pronouns. There was a bigger problem. The pronouns by themselves, I still think, are a problem.
Correct.
It might not be enough to tell me I'm not playing the game, but from everything else I've heard, I'm not playing the fucking game. But don't act like it's not a problem. It's a problem. It just might not be a big enough problem to turn you off of the game. Some people, that's all it's going to take. And they have their right to make that decision. The next thing I heard was the whataboutism, where somebody was like, well, what about Baldur's Gate 3? You can have sex with a bear in that. Why are we talking about Baldur's Gate 3? Okay, first off,
we did.
Plenty of people were talking about Baldur's Gate 3 a week ago when that was an issue.
Well, we were talking about it when the promo came out that showed the freaking bear. Even it was on every stream that I was on.
I saw that footage so many times.
Second off, not only is this whataboutism, but it's apples and oranges comparisons. Baldur's Gate 3 is a Dungeons and Dragons game set in the Forgotten Realms, and technically, you're not fucking a bear. You're fucking a human druid who transformed into a bear.
That's exactly what someone who wants to fuck a bear would say.
Not saying that's any better, but if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, can I?
Yes, go.
Let's just remove him. Not saying it's any better, but if you've ever played D&D with a bunch of teenagers or 20-somethings, I guarantee you dumb shit like that happens at the table when you're talking about it. Like, some character is going to try and seduce the dragon. Some character is going to do something gross. Like, it's Dungeons and Dragons. That shit happens all the time.
Slender's a furry confirmed.
I'm sorry. Yeti broke me on that one. It got me too good. I didn't mean to interrupt your rant with my laughing, but it was too funny. Stop it.
But that's the whole point, though. The point I'm trying to make is that the games are nothing alike, and you're making a comparison that you technically don't even know the lore of the game or why it even happened in the game. You're just like, oh, fucking a bear, gross. Okay. There's plenty of gross shit in all games.
Yeah.
I've seen worse.
Well, Wednesday night, I made another comparison on the midweek hump after show because we were talking about this again on Wednesday. But the comparison was the alphabet people flags in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That you could not mod out because they banned that. But
was that in the Miles Morales one or the?
It was Spider-Man 1 or 2. I can't remember, but I mean, there were flags all over the place that were just LGBT, flags, the pride flag. And it's
and if it's not your thing, people make mods to take that kind of shit out of the game.
Right, but they wouldn't let you in that one.
Then the LGBTQ community complains that people are taking that out of the game, and I shit you not, they will remove it from like the Nexus mods. They'll remove it and they'll ban it. You can't use it anymore.
You can't remove the pronouns from this game or you get banned as well.
Yeah.
But the thing with Spider-Man is it was in the game and it's all over the place. My point was with the, the creep of all of this coming into everything. What other group, because I think it was Horror Amarada had talked about minorities and, or it may have been Shags, talked about minorities. And yeah, I mean, after they've been oppressed for so long, maybe they should get some representation, that kind of thing. What other minority has ever just had their flag plastered all over a video game or all over movies? What other minority really has flags like that?
Flags are usually reserved for nations.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, there is a Christian flag. How would all of these people on the left react if every flag in Spider-Man was a Christian flag next to the American flag? They'd lose their minds. So, yeah. I mean, that's a better comparison, I think, to what's going on with the pronouns creeping in and, them just trying to be like, no, we're actually, you will accept us is what it is.
Yeah,
and not just accept us, but praise us.
When we complain about it and we say it's a problem and we fucking don't like it, the only argument I've heard really is it's not that big a deal. Why are you getting so pissed off about it? What's the big deal? Okay.
If it's not that big of a deal, why?
Yeah. Well, no, I won't even say why. If it's not that big of a deal, then it should be no big deal if I mod it out, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Why have it in? Why not be able to remove it? Yeah.
If I can't, if it's not that big a deal, why are you pissed off that I'm modding it out?
Yeah, because they want it to be seen, and I don't care if this game. I don't care if this game is supposed to be primarily for adults. I mean, it's just in everything. It's in all forms of entertainment at this point. I don't need it shoved in my face anymore. I am not ever going to praise you for whatever you do in your bedroom. Why can't we go back to?
Yeah, I never get praised
do what
for
you
what
do
I
in
do
your
in
bedroom.
my bedroom.
Well, I know you don't. We know your
Mrs.
wife.
Bride of Slender. Mrs. Slender is in the chat, so she hasn't praised anything.
If anything, I've been critiqued. Like,
but I mean, back in
we gotta watch tape like we're fucking Madden, and she's like, right here where you came in this way and went boom, but you missed the pocket. You missed the pocket again. You missed the pocket every time.
If anyone else,
you're
was
missing the
talking like
pocket
this,
that many times, there's a bigger issue.
Yes.
But back in 2005, 2006, it was okay. Do whatever you want in your own bedroom.
Yeah.
And okay, fine.
Golden years of
we'll
nobody
tolerate
giving
it.
a shit.
Yeah, we'll tolerate it. But it so immediately turned into in your face. We're going to have parades where everybody's doing whatever the hell they're doing. People aren't wearing clothes in the streets. Now we've got the whole situation with the drag queens. I mean, it is gone from tolerance and acceptance to you are going to not only accept us, but you're going to praise us for what we do.
You have to celebrate us.
Right? It's
like, celebrate it.
Once upon a time, people didn't like it. And then you wanted equal rights, and people were like, fine, I don't fucking care. Just I think fine, I don't fucking care. And now it's like, no, you have to love it. You have to love it.
This is something myself and my wife and I just talk about, and I usually bring up, which is that we've kind of changed what tolerance means. Tolerance, you tolerate something. It means you don't actively try to maybe end it, but tolerance doesn't mean acceptance. Like I can tolerate people in their own homes doing things they want to do together as consenting adults, but I don't necessarily have to accept it. I might just tolerate that it happens. What we are moving towards is, like Brahma's saying, is
that it happens, but I won't tolerate it when they're
No,
waving them around in the streets, walking
no,
down.
when I say when they are trying
kids.
they're trying to like re-educate you into full-on struggle session
Normalization.
acceptance of this behavior as the norm. Like as soon as they rolled out, I remember when they started saying cisgender, like cis normative, cis hetero. As soon as they tried to take what is the standard operating procedure of nature and apply a term to it that was pejorative, you knew what was coming next. Like that they are othering normal behavior. They are trying to move you, and like in effect they're trying to make that the degenerate behavior is the standard issue part. It's ridiculous.
Right.
And
because if you create that new box, there's a new intersectionality that they can place it in.
Yeah. I got one more thing that I want to talk about with the as argument and everything else, and that is Lofty and Tox. Here's the thing. I love these guys. Sounds great and all, but Lofty was kind of a dick. And Tox, we know you don't think video games are cool. We know you think they're a waste of time. So just don't jump in the argument, man. Like it's not your this ain't your fight.
Release the McCracken. Slender Dad sounds like the Uber-based Lofty.
I'll take it, I guess. But that's the thing. Like, if you don't care, if you think video games are shit and they're a waste of time and you have no respect for the people who play them, that's cool. But then you have no place in this argument. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. Like, don't be a dick to each other. Don't resort to personal attacks or anything. But I mean, also, if you've got nothing to contribute to the argument because you don't have a dog in this fight, then I don't know. I just don't see you needing to say anything about it. Just be like, cool, you guys have your argument, you know? And let's keep it respectful. It's not that hard. It's really not.
It was Sunday.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, stop being so fucking childish. We are adults. Let us act like furthermore, we are men who are supposed to be, you know.
There is no proof of that. There's no proof of that, Slender.
Maybe for you,
as opposed to Kitty Bear over here with Slender is not Lofty? Question mark.
But like, we're supposed to be able to, you know, exercise some degree of stoicism, be rational, keep our cool, you know. We're not women. Don't go clawing each other's faces off because you said something about someone's hair.
Well, and if you want a much better argument from some of the same people, because Shags, on the Midweek Hump After Show, which is on Rumble only, I was on there, Shags was on there, we continued that talk. Horror Amarada was on there, she was a little bit more to the center of everything. Shags was playing a little bit of devil's advocate. I don't think he sees why it's such a big deal, but he does understand the argument. But yeah, we did another hour and a half, 2 hours on that on Wednesday night. So if you want to go see a little bit better argument on it, and a lot more civil, then check out the Rumble Shagsworth show.
I know Mad was on with Lofty. Was it Tuesday?
On Monday night.
On Monday night.
Along with Shags.
And was trying to get Slender on that show too.
Well, they wanted me to go on as well, but the reason I left the stream Sunday night was I broke out in a fever, like physically, it got body aches and was running a fever of like 100. No, it was like 100, 101, but I wasn't feeling well, so I got out of there, and it turned out it was at the right time. But I stayed off a comic show on Monday because I was still, you know, not feeling great, so I didn't go on the one with Lofty and Matt on Monday.
One of the new strains? You got that COVID?
It was already gone by late Monday evening. The fever had already broken, so I was back to normal on Tuesday. All it did was cost me my Labor Day, where I already had the day off and couldn't actually take a sick day. And
so you did more than dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of this whole debate. Makes me think of the Star Trek First Contact, movie moment where it's Picard like we draw a line here and then we take a step back and then we draw a line here and we take a step back. Like it's one of the best movie summations of basically the slippery slope. How if you keep moving your line back, you're gonna end up pinned and about to be crushed. Like so, and I would share it and show it, but then we'd be copyright struck, so I won't say that.
You're saying you'll be ready when you call my bluff.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been making that argument since 2006, 2007. I mean, when the whole phrase "love is love" came into being, we already knew where all of this was going.
Yeah, and
we still capitulated to them.
Yeah, and to answer this point, I think because we talked about it a little earlier, Kitty Bear, they won't allow you to mod it out. If you try to do the mods to remove it, your mod is immediately struck down. So
now, okay, isn't that just from the Nexus?
Just from Nexus.
Mod?
Yeah.
So could you not do it somewhere else? I don't know how to mod anything. So, like,
I don't know. Could be, but I mean, and if you can make the mod yourself and apply it, then sure. But out of my wheelhouse.
If this was truly a level of just trying to be tolerant to everyone, you would have the option at your game menu to turn on whether you wanted pronouns asked or not. That's what you would do if you were really trying to be a general audience game and not serve an agenda. You wouldn't force the choice. You would allow someone to seek
isn't
it
that
out
in itself forcing the choice?
You would have allowing someone to turn it on would be different than forcing everyone.
It never
to
gets brought up ever again. Like I haven't seen it ever come up in my feed. So
if it never gets brought up ever again, why is it forced on you in the first place?
Well, so my point is, why is it even there?
It's not just pandering.
If you're doing a choice, you're still forcing that onto someone when it doesn't need to be, like, because it's never brought up. So why have that?
Whether it's the pronouns choice or whether it's the clone of the man that's now a woman that's trans, whatever. It's not that they're making it's. How do I say this the right way? They are training you to accept it.
Yeah.
Because it's
ideological creep.
So
that's the point I've been making.
That's what Brahma's been saying is it's not that it's overtly insidious in that it's making you, it's not like, again, Star Trek where he's asking you how many lights there are and you have to objectively lie out loud. But it is the Overton window where it's just getting you to accept it. It's moving that line further because you're like, oh, whatever. It's not worth fighting about, right? It's in a lot of ways, it reminds me of the mask debate right now, right? Like where people are, you remember when it was hot and heavy and it's going to be, Mask 2 Electric Boogaloo is around the corner and people were like, just wear it. It's no big deal. You don't want to fight, right? And then as the evidence came out, as for all of us who worked in healthcare knew very specifically that those masks were not capable of actually blocking anything of that size. It was a gesture designed to outwardly make you comply, just because it was they want you to start with things that are easy
too.
Well, that's what it is, though, Yeti.
Because even those healthcare workers, they flipped. There's a bunch of healthcare workers that at the beginning said it doesn't do anything, and then they're like screaming about you not doing it.
But that's the thing, Yeti. So weird. That's why they start with something that's easy. Like, why are you? Because right now the whole thing is going to be a campaign of why you're getting so upset about one character in a game, or just that pronouns are there. Yeah. Because
it's one way. I'll give you an example here. Steam. I don't know when it happened, but did you know they have an LGBTQ plus tag for games now?
Yeah, well, kind of like Netflix has a whole pride section.
Yeah, they don't have a trad tag. They don't have a base tag. They don't have Chad games. Like,
Oh, hey, new business idea, guy. Okay, we're gonna start Chad Games. This is gonna do so well.
But
I'm just saying, like you're making tags so that these people can find their kind of games. Why can't I find my kind of fucking games?
Yeah. No. That's what I'm saying. We got to get on this.
Yeah,
there's a market.
The other point I was making Sunday night that got run over and Wednesday night was having to do with that, Chad. I mean, because they're like, it's such a little thing. Why even bother? Okay, they put in they them. That one's probably, I mean, outside of it being completely grammar incorrect, I mean, it's the slightest thing. But they can't afford to put in all 172 genders or whatever they're up to in their count now. So, yeah, it's a small thing because at the moment they can't get all the rest of them in there. So they're going to make you accept this one. And then maybe there's 4 or 5 others in the next iteration of games. And then maybe we're at 72. Then maybe we're at over 100. But they're going to just keep sliding that way. So put your foot down now, not later. It's too late once it's later.
Yeah.
That is the whole idea of the Overton window or the slippery slope. You have to fight it where it begins, not later.
The whole point of it is like, and this is something I do agree that I believe Tox brought up, was like, if you can't put all of them in there, then you shouldn't put any of them in there.
Right.
Like,
because it's just pandering to one section of the pandering section. If you're,
it's not making you any more inclusive. As a matter of fact, it's almost like you're assigning more value to the they thems than the zers or the you know, the cat selves or the fairy selves or the emo selves or whatever the fuck else there are.
Yeah.
Pretty soon there's going to be developers that are going to go back to the Halo way where you never see the character's face. And like, they're just going to avoid any controversy, make it as not obtuse, but like hide any gender identity. Although as soon as you have a voice actor, that kind of goes out the window.
Yeah, and here's the
Bart
thing,
Simpson's a girl, so.
Well, here's the thing, acting like it's a problem, but like Metroid, does anybody remember Metroid?
Samus.
Way back in the day? Yeah, Samus, right? Nobody knew Samus was a girl until you managed to beat the game.
Until you got the super secret ending that had her in a bikini.
Yeah, bikini, and then Samus was a girl, and everybody was like, awesome, Samus is a girl. That's cool as shit.
Yeah, I get to play with her in a bikini now, pixelated bikini.
However, if she'd taken off her helmet and looked like the girl from Fable 3, nobody would have said that. Everybody would like, oh shit, this game sucks now.
What's funny is I read an article yesterday from another, you know, one of the gaming things, and the whole article was about Armored Core 6 and how it is. Game. Yes, but the whole article was about how horrible it is that A, you don't have a gender, and B, they
always do that.
They're dehumanizing the person because you never actually see the person, you only see the mech parts. Man, so it's dehumanizing to everybody.
Lazy
because
articles.
I know, but I mean, it's like, really, we're that's what you guys' argument is going to be about. Ours is about something of substance. Yours is in a game where you're fighting as giant mechs.
That sounds like somebody
to be a giant mech.
Sounds like somebody trained an AI chatbot from the Mary Sue, and they just shot out an article.
Can I give you some
that's
lore?
Just games journalism, and that goes back like to 2012. They've been doing that exact same thing for all the games.
Can I give you some lore, Brahma?
Sure.
This is gonna be fun because they probably didn't talk about this because they probably don't know. I've been playing Armored Core since the first fucking Armored Core. In the first Armored Core, if you lost missions, right, you'd still have to pay for repairs to your mech. You'd still have to pay for replacing ammo. You'd still have to pay for all that stuff. And you could go into the negative. If you went into the negative more than 50,000, you didn't own yourself anymore. So they would submit you for an experiment where they would experiment on your body and put chips in your head to try and make you a better pilot, and it'd give you bonuses so that it was easier to win the game.
To go into easy mode.
Yeah. And every time you went negative 50,000, you'd get another one. Like one would you'd give you built-in radar. Another one would make it so that you could do stuff faster, like all sorts of shit like that. Because you were basically a slave.
All right, so
It's
we got
really innovative. Like that's a really innovative way.
But so we got a question for the panel: who would you cast as Samus / Metroid movie? And Irate Specialist jumped in because from a YouTuber perspective, Brie Larson would be gold. Because anything you put Brie Larson in from a fandom standpoint,
don't you dare put that into the world. Don't you dare put that out there.
Would be YouTube gold. I mean, the Geeks and Gamers house would build another friggin' wing if Brie Larson got cast as Samus. Now, who would I actually cast? I don't know. What do you think?
Happen now.
What do I think?
Yeah, go with Slender if you know. I've got a couple.
I think it's hard to say. I can never remember women's names. Maybe Dakota Fanning?
She was just in Equalizer 3. She's kind of she grew up awkward. That happens to sometimes when they're, cute child actors.
Oh, Jennifer Aniston could have been a pretty good Samus.
Like 30 years ago.
Well, yeah.
We've got someone
Not
saying
now. She's a little old now.
We got Vertical Horizon saying Katie Sackhoff.
That's still too old.
That would have been one of my picks.
Like, yeah, that would have been back when Battlestar Galactica started.
Bride of Slender.
Well, she's still doing Spartan races.
She's
in shape, but
shape.
That's not the right age for Samus.
The blonde lady from Vikings, but I think she's kind of getting a little old now too.
Is that Catherine Winnick or something like that? Or
yeah, Catherine Winnick. She could pull it off. She could definitely do the fighting.
Blake Lively would be a good pick, I think.
It's still too old.
Since she's great in everything, I would go with Ana de Armas too.
Ana de Armas.
She can't.
I'm so over her. Christina Hendricks. Okay, that's just voting for.
That's just voting for tits.
Yeah, like come on, McCracken. That's not. No, she's not even built. I mean, you want someone, if you were casting for real, you'd want someone who's probably in their early mid-20s. Because if you're doing that kind of movie and you're spending the money, you're gonna want to, I don't know, be able to get 10, 12 years out of it minimum from whoever it is. Kristen Stewart.
I know. I was waiting for you to see that. There's no way. Like,
Vertical Horizons, no.
Oh my God, there's
a million times.
Absolutely not.
Did anybody see Happy Death Day?
Yes. Oh, that girl.
I think that girl kind of has charisma, and she did some physical stunt work. She's blonde, which I don't know if it's real blonde or not, but
no, she's got the look though. I could picture her. She was good in that too.
By the way, Happy Death Day was actually a pretty surprisingly good.
Not number 2 though.
No, the second one was because they were trying to explain it. They fell into the trap of sometimes you just got to let something be, like Groundhog Day, right? Yeah. Nobody, if they made a sequel to Groundhog Day and explained why Bill Murray was time looping,
it would suck.
It would suck, yeah. So we're talking, Max. We're talking about who would play Samus.
I think I've got the right one. Chloe Grace Moretz.
Oh, that's right. Hit girl herself.
She's like 25 now, so she's right in that age range too.
And
she did go insane, but
Irate's going for the new Brie Larson
article.
Yeah, Irate goes with the new Brie Larson, which would be Rachel Zegler. So, someone's McCracken says Florence Pugh.
I can see that too. I can still see it.
You know who might be good? And you got to hear me out on this, would be Lily Rose Depp. Because here's the thing, right?
I can't even picture her.
I don't know who that is.
It's Johnny
Depp's daughter.
Yeah, and just like Johnny Depp, she looks kind of like a bird.
she's like,
And
just like
supposedly-
Johnny Depp, she's got a nice man's ass. So
No,
I'm like,
she's got a really thin neck, and she looks like she has hollow bones. And supposedly Samus's DNA was mixed with like bird aliens. That's why she can curl up into a ball.
I've never been deep into the Metroid lore. It was just like a shoot. By the time
the lore is a little weird, but not bad.
I know that Metroid Prime was a fun shooter for like Wii, but yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to like explain away in a real world how somebody turns into a small ball without crushing all their limbs.
Right.
Bird DNA. She's got hollow bones.
All right, I'm looking at a list of like the 50 hottest in their 20s actresses. Oh, Sophie Turner's out because she's a terrible person.
Oh God, what happened to her? Like,
I mean, if we're trying to find not a terrible
Oh,
person,
what do you know?
probably can't
Number
pick an
3.
actress.
Number 3 on the list is Lily Rose Depp, Slender. So
can you
this
bring up
list
the
is
picture so we can see?
it's I'm doing it on my phone so I don't screw up StreamYards because these are on these. Anytime you go to one of these sites, it's got so many ads and everything.
Ads, yeah.
Yeah, this thing is covered in ads, but I'll share mine.
Catherine Newton, I lost all respect for after Ant-Man Quantumania, so I don't really.
Yeah, that is Lily Rose Depp.
Oh, I could definitely see her in that role.
Yeah,
she looks like Leighton Meester a lot.
I mean, Mars Needs Max says, yeah, if she's not banging the cast, Lily Rose would work.
Well, that's right, because that was her whole show was like, I still think Brahma was Chloe Grace Moretz might be probably
the girl from
the
Resident
best
Evil. No, you can't be 2 video game heroes.
But she would have to start like hitting the gym. She'd have to like tone
because
up.
Zero Suit Samus, is a thing as well. So if they ever got to that, then you can't have somebody who's as sickly thin as this chick.
No.
You can put her in a
that's what
suit.
like Gal Gadot did that for Wonder Woman, and like she was able to tone up really nice. If you saw her before that, she was kind of that like skinny girl that, so it's possible that she could tone up and then be really good in the role.
Oh, what do we think of the girl from Cobra Kai? The blonde one.
I didn't think she's a very good actor. Oh,
yeah, well, she's gonna be the bad girl. Not LaRusso's daughter. She's
okay, I thought you were talking about LaRusso.
No, Peyton List, I guess is her name.
Yeah,
she'd probably be okay.
I don't know, maybe okay.
She might actually have to slim down to be in the suit.
They'd also have to give her boots or something to make her taller when she was in the Metroid suit because she's too small.
I just assume they all like you'd automatically have boots because of the Metroid suit, right?
Yeah, I think so. But like, she's supposed to look pretty huge in the Metroid suit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would imagine you'd be able to do that through the suit design, kind of pull that off.
They just CG all that shit, you know it.
Oh God, like. That would ruin it for me though. If it like you make a real suit like in the first Iron Man, which was the best one where it's
no, I wasn't saying I would want a real suit, but I would
Yeah.
want I think that even if you built it practically, you could make it built up enough so someone getting inside of it, you could bulk it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
My uncle just texted me Jessica Alba, but she may be out of the age range too for
Jessica
it.
Alba's
I
like
think she's probably too old.
Isn't she in her 40s now? Yeah.
Another
Probably.
30
It's
years
amazing
too
how
late.
many. Yeah, it's amazing how many of these chicks that are on these lists are like already in their 40s, and it's like it doesn't seem like they're.
Oh, you know what? It's the girl from Brahma. You saw the new Mission Impossible, right?
Yeah.
The blonde one.
The blonde, the widow, the black
widow.
widow or white widow.
Yeah.
I like her in everything she's in. She was great in the Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah,
she'd be perfect for it.
She's actually because she's done action movies. She's done she can handle the stunt work.
Yeah.
I mean, I would. I would think she has the right kind of frame for Samus too. She's taller.
Yep.
So yeah,
What
that's
is
my
her
official selection.
name?
I wish I knew what her name was, because she's also supposed to be the top choice allegedly for Susan Storm in the Fantastic Four.
Vanessa Kirby is the actress. Yeah, I don't mind her at all in anything.
Yeah,
I
so
think we have consensus then.
what do you?
We should be hired for
the casting couch.
Yeah,
Plus-
no casting couch, Brahma.
Oh.
Plus she's English, so that automatically would lend an air of awesomeness to Samus, the accent coming through.
And she's kind of bird-like too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have those like
So we're looking at D. Reynolds now.
As long as it's not D. Snyder, which was where we started talking about with that chat.
But Vanessa Kirby's also 35 years old.
Oh, somebody in the chat went there. They what about putting in Ruby Rose?
No.
Ruby, oh no.
No thanks.
Well, Ruby Rose is who you'd put in if you wanted to make sure that people got injured or killed doing stunt work.
All right, well, we're not that close to 2 hours, so I'm not killing the stream on that. But we're all agreed Vanessa Kirby, probably a good choice. Let's talk about the Lioness.
Yeah, that was actually, I was getting ready to share. All right, so this is a cool show. Tyler Sheridan, who pretty much owns Paramount Plus at this point. Taylor Sheridan. Have you looked at how much shit he's putting on Paramount Plus?
Yellowstone,
Yellowstone, Lioness. He's got
Mayor of Kingstown.
He's got the
1887, 1923.
With the Tulsa King, right? Isn't that the
Tulsa
one
King
with Sylvester Stallone?
The two Yellowstone spinoffs.
If it's not if it's not a Star Trek show, it's being made by Taylor Sheridan as an original on on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, so, he's all over the place. He's great. I haven't seen anything that I haven't liked from him yet. I've seen things that are not as good as his other stuff, but yeah, everything's good.
All right, so did it not show up? I shared. Mine was Slender. You getting storms coming through on your side too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's what's screwing up my screen share a little bit. My StreamYard.
I will agree with Irate Specialist. Taylor is Paramount. His shows are the only success they have. Pretty much.
All right. Well, it's not working for me to share I had a poster for Linus. Whatever. We can talk about it. So Linus, to give you the gist of it, the show is called Special Ops Lioness. It stars Zoe Saldana, Nicole Kidman, who, by the way, jacked her face up and distracts me every time she comes on screen because of it. Did you have that problem, Brahma?
Brahma's gone for a minute.
Oh.
Did he step away?
Yeah.
All right. He's in a BRB situation, huh?
Okay. All right, so the concept.
This was the topic he wanted to talk about for his birthday.
Yeah. So the concept of the show is that
was your first mistake, giving him something for his birthday.
Yeah, Zoe Saldana runs for the CIA a infiltration team where they infiltrate a codename Lioness, which is just a female operative, into an environment to take down a target. And their mission is to get to what they are referring to as like the Ace of Spades, who is the top banker for all of terrorism, allegedly controls about 8 to 10 million barrels of oil a day's worth of trading, and he uses that to finance terrorism. It is a pretty interesting show. People forget that Sheridan did Sicario, so his initial entertainment for burst onto the scene was doing special forces, tactical kind of shows rather than the westerns with Yellowstone.
Well, he was also in Sons of Anarchy. He was the sheriff that comes in to replace the guy that got cancer in season 2 or 3.
Yep, that's right. So he's he's so he's done this kind of work. So the show definitely had it had elements that I thought were more grounded and kind of working. There was some stuff that was a little weird for me living in Northern Virginia. Every time they cut to Nicole Kidman's like mansion estate that looked like it was straight out of England, where it was a giant like 10-acre old timey looking mansion like that, and it's supposed to be right in Washington D.C. I was like, those aren't really there anymore. Slender can probably back me up on that. You don't really see those very often.
No.
So that or outside of Langley.
Well.
Oh no, even outside of Langley. So Langley is a in Falls Church, and McLean is a very suburban, built-up area.
Okay.
Yes,
Even the spots where you might have a little bit of acreage are looking like suburban-y style McMansion houses, not like old estate-looking houses.
And I do gotta agree with this to a certain extent. Why do they always give female spies an animal code name? Why can't they call it the letter opener? Now, I was thinking the animal code name Lioness, based on what they do, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think like something like Mantis would have been better. Because a lioness goes and gets food and brings it back to the lion. A mantis, after having sex with another mantis, she bites its head off.
Female hyena would work too. The hyena.
Yeah.
The female hyena is like 3 times as big as the male, and
but lioness. I don't know. The code name seems stupid to me.
Irate's got it right. The honey badger.
Yeah.
Well, the honey badger doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You don't screw with the honey badger. They will mess you up.
I think Brahm and I both agree. The show was okay. It was, I mean, for like I think, was it 7-8 episodes?
8 episodes, and so I believe it's not doing another season. It's isolated.
It's a one-off. Okay.
They will do another one in the same vein, but it will not be a continuation of this. It'll be another Special Forces, I think.
I will be honest and say that I watched some of the episode that you wanted to discuss, and I skimmed some episodes, but I couldn't. It couldn't get its hooks in me.
It was short enough that I watched it either way.
Thing he ever made, but I don't. To me, it does not reflect the level of quality of the other things that the man has produced.
Yeah, now Brahma, when he brought up this show as something we would talk about, mentioned specifically, I think the finale, where it kind of becomes not just a completion of the mission that they've been building towards the entire season, but also a pretty strong indictment of the security state. And I don't know if you want to kind of go into your thoughts on that, Brahma.
Well, it low-key, if you're actually paying attention, it low-key eviscerates the globalist agenda and the American, bureaucracy, the deep state. You've got Nicole Kidman's character is married to a guy who's basically like a stock mogul. I mean, he's playing all kinds of stocks off of insider trading and all that kind of information. In fact, she trades him information in insider tips.
Like Nancy Pelosi's husband.
Exactly. They are super worried that if this guy that is the target gets taken out, then the market is going to get flooded with oil because there's something tied to him and his cartel type thing that is, what was it, 10 billion barrels or 90 billion barrels?
They said 8 to 10 million of barrels per day was what he controlled in terms of the black market, that he took it basically from Saudi and the Iran and the zones right around there, where he skimmed 8 to 10 million barrels worth of production off of their genuine production, and then would sell it to like around the world on the black market, Russia, China, wherever.
Yeah, sell it to terrorist groups or whoever would pay.
And their worry was that if you actually successfully took this guy, who was, per this show's lore, the #1 most wanted terrorist in the world for years, the ace of spades in the terrorist card decks, the biggest guy since bin Laden to take out.
Yeah.
If you take him off the board, those 8 to 10 million barrels are no longer going to the black market. They go to the open market, and the price of oil will plummet.
Right.
Which, as we all know, when the price of oil plummets, the price of gasoline goes down, the price of energy goes down, the price of food production goes down. All of our big inflation right now that's really crushing us, you can tie back to
almost like
energy.
we can live, prosperous, comfortable lives again. Who'd have freaking thought?
We lost Chad.
And we lost
Chad. Removed himself.
It's my show now.
Oh, great. Yeah, I mean, but the whole thing is, the CIA and all the senators that are involved actively are telling them to call off the mission that she's already embedded in, because it might ruin what they want the economy to be at the time.
Yeah.
And it's definitely something we're looking at it, and you can definitely tell kind of where Taylor Sheridan's leanings are starting to lean, because he hasn't gotten very political in other stuff. But this one was highly political if you're watching for it. If you're not a political person, you're probably just looking at it as, it's just corrupt government. But he's calling out very specific corruptness in government.
He's got to be real careful how he says it.
Correct. So, I think this is by far the most political that he has gone in any of the shows so far, because the others are.
Dude, little Chad, welcome back to my show.
Hey.
Oh, I can't even hear you.
There you go. Talk again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're through the correct mic now.
Yeah, the light, the storm, which means it's probably going to hit your zone in about 35 minutes if it's over my house right now.
Yeah, it's coming my way.
I was going to say, I just thought of this while I was kicked out, which was the name of the special operator for the female assassins should be Death by Snoo Snoo. Nah. And I also brought Brahma, because you watched the show. I don't know where we were at in the conversation. Did you guys talk about how the agent infiltrated by becoming best friends with the daughter?
Yeah, best friends in quotations.
Lesbian friends, right?
Yeah. We did have to slip some lesbian crap into it, and that was kind of annoying.
All right, so I thought of what was probably the most inappropriate and funny joke that I made my wife laugh when we were watching the finale, or the next to last episode when they were in New York and getting down.
Yeah.
And the guard came in. No, the lady, when they were shopping, and opened the door right when they were about to kiss. And I was like, what is the right term for when a lesbian gets blocked?
Twat blocked.
Yeah, and then I thought of it and I was like, rock. And you know why?
Why?
She got beaver damned.
Because rock beats
scissors. I was like, come on, that was a good one, right?
I got where you're going.
Come on, Slender, that was a good one. Laugh.
I mean, I gotta do it now.
No, don't block. Don't turn off the stream.
The opening episode was actually it had a lot of action, and actually kind of shows what the operation is before we actually jump into the show.
I like that
the original Lioness actually is already active at that time. Well, not original, but the previous Lioness, and it shows what happens when it goes badly for the unit. And it was a pretty good episode to open up with.
Yeah, and they also established that the person in charge, Zoe Saldana's character, will make decisions that to salvage the operations if needed, and which is something that kind of hangs over. Now they don't tell the new girl they recruit to be the embedded
spy,
embedded person, that this is the options that are on the table. I don't remember them saying that if they go south, this is what we're going to do. But it was good. And I didn't like that whole side storyline with her family and the daughter and the husband who's a doctor. And I just kind of found it blah. I don't know if you.
I found it blah, but I think they needed it to just show that she's not just a badass at all times, and that I mean, she has some major issues, mental issues from the calls that she has to make, and having her just be able to do everything without, we don't want to, Mary Sue her, where she's, no problem. We just did what we did, and yeah, there's no there's no repercussions from her job. So they had to show something that was the family side to kind of humanize her a little bit and not make her into a Mary Sue type character, or
I
just
will say,
a feminist outright. So
the character that I actually found the most entertaining was the dude who ran that was running his own team.
Yeah, the CIA side guy,
the other operator, sort of lead that was running. When he ran his operation in, I guess, was it New Mexico or Texas?
Yeah, at the border.
Yeah, where it went south, and he was just like, "What was I supposed to do?"
Well, it was San Antonio. Yeah,
yeah, and but he just seemed, he had a lot of charisma and was entertaining on screen.
He reminded me of the CIA agent from the movie The A-Team.
Yeah.
That's the kind of just loose dealing, kind of
Patrick
very
Wilson,
cocky type. Yeah, Patrick Wilson played him, but loose dealing, really cocky CIA agent who thinks he can just do whatever he wants. That kind of thing.
Yeah. And it was funny. Not funny, but he had some moments where he bring some levity. Like when they get to New York and he's like, when she's worried, I don't want her going anywhere. It's like, she's not going anywhere. It's like, what do you mean? She's doing it. She's right there. Like, because they had a microphone on.
Yeah, I've been listening to them screw for 2 hours now.
For sure. Yeah. So, I think, like I said, the person I found most not entertaining was Nicole Kidman. It's just her face. It takes me out of it. I can't take her seriously at all with the plastic surgery.
Yeah, she's ruined her face. I mean, it's not as bad as the chick with the jaw in Wheel of Time that plays Leandrin, but it's pretty bad. I mean Nicole Kidman's face does not emote at all.
I don't think anyone's worse than Madonna at this point.
Oh, well, there was
yeah.
What they don't usually do is in the season finale, Nicole Kidman was wearing her hair pulled very far back, like in a ponytail, because she was on the mission. And it exposed how they've pulled her face. Like, you can see almost how they've stretched it and pulled it back to facelift it. Because normally
they cut it off and then stapled it back.
Well, I think there's a reason that women who do that usually wear their hair down all the time, so that that kind of zone is not, in the line of sight. But they had it this time, and it just makes her face,
because they literally have stretch marks on their hairline.
And I don't know if you kind of felt it was just off-putting to me seeing that every time.
Do you remember I don't know if you guys watched Doctor Who, but kind of in the beginning of New Who, the piece of skin that just has to be sprayed with water because it's just a face on a piece of skin. Yeah, it's kind of like that, but just wrapped around a skull.
I'll tell you who I didn't mind that I normally thought would have been like an agenda character was the clearly lesbian butch operator woman.
Yeah.
Didn't bother me so much in this one. You know why? Because there was one of her and the rest of the team was all men who looked like they actually knew how to do that shit and could do it.
Normal people?
Yeah.
Well, and because she's clearly lesbian butch, but they don't do anything. I mean, they don't bring it up. You know what the character is. Then. Yes. Yeah. You know what the character is. It's not getting shoved down your throat.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt about what was that show with Arnold Schwarzenegger recently? Where he was like
Fubar.
Yeah.
Fubar.
Cassandra was the name of the character from New Who.
I thought it was pretty good. And they had like the butch lesbian character in that.
Yeah.
But it was one character. And they weren't the bestest ever. They were just a member of the team with their own unique personality. That's okay. That's diversity done right.
Yeah, you just have to let them be their own character and not have the immutable characteristics driving what they do and say.
and not tear down all the characters around them to try and make them look better.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And
they got to be able to
this
stand
character
there on
doesn't
their
do
own
that.
merits.
So yeah. So she was not intolerable. I mean,
well, speaking of intolerable, Abby has been cast. We don't know who yet, but
Abby
she has
from
been
what?
cast. The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh,
They have her cast now.
Okay, so there you go, Slender. Now you can see.
Oh.
She cannot emote at all. She just looks like resting. Well, not resting, but tight bitch face at all times.
Yeah, she looks weird.
She even looks far worse than she did when she was eating bugs in that commercial in whatever country that was. What, a year ago, 2 years ago?
She's the person who comes like AMC theaters has her at like their intro like thing whenever they show a movie, the like right before the feature presentation, she comes on and does the little like walking into the theater and does her little speech blurb about movies are amazing. And it's just her face is, I was like, this, you don't get this person with the jacked face. Like, get somebody who you can look at.
Remember how hot she was in Batman Forever?
Yes. When she was,
that was the peak of her hotness.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, because Eyes Wide Shut, she had the curl. I liked her better with the straight hair.
Yeah.
So
Days of Thunder, I think she had the curly hair, and she still had some of her young, chubby face type.
Let's also be honest.
Grown into her face yet.
She was letting the Aussie, fly in Days of Thunder, and it was much better in Meridian, where she was in Batman Forever, where she was doing the steady American accent instead.
Mm-hmm.
The Aussie oi 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 voice for Nicole Kidman isn't so great.
No.
I mean, if you want to have a good time, you can watch maybe Eyes Wide Shut if that's what you want to see of Nicole Kidman. But peak hotness was probably Batman Forever.
Yeah, I got to find the one picture of her from Batman Forever that is
where she was in
most people's minds. The white nightie. Yeah.
Man, we used to have. What did they take from us in the 90s when we would have those things in movies and it was just expected? So terrible.
Yeah, and it wasn't even
I don't
like
think
pornographic. It was just hot.
In the 90s. In the 90s, they were giving us those things.
That's what we're saying. That's what they've taken from us at this point.
So basically, Hollywood needs to get back on cocaine again.
It's not going to be a bad choice, maybe.
I think it'd help.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Metallica got sober. It got real bad.
Yeah, like they need to get back on cocaine, ditch the antidepressants and anxiety meds, and just get hammered on the stuff.
Well, I think don't
do drugs, kids.
I think that's summed up in Jerry Bruckheimer and his partner and Don Simpson.
Yeah, they did so much cocaine,
so much coke,
and you got Pirates of the Caribbean. Like,
well, that was
so much more.
Well, I think Simpson was gone before that. Like they had split off, and then it was just Bruckheimer.
I don't remember, but I do know. Like I know what you're talking about. Before that, he had like every giant major hit. Like he was rocking in the free world. I didn't have a better saying than that. So.
It was because they did Top Gun. Like they kind of invented that whole genre, I think.
Oh, their movies are the best.
Here, I think I found it, Brom. It was a Black Nightgown, not.
Yeah, but there's one where she's posing, like looking back. But yeah,
that was the scene.
She looked great back then.
What I thought was hilarious about Batman Forever was that they were still trying to basically take the Tim Burton aesthetics for the style of Gotham.
Right.
But they made it cheesy. So it was like, it really like all the Gothic Tim Burton-y style, like with over the top.
Is that true? I heard that was a myth.
That there was a cut with Jessica Rabbit's panties?
I heard that was a myth.
I'm not sure.
I
But our
don't-
rate
I don't know if
specialist says he's seen it. So
I mean, I've got no reason to doubt that there may have been. But
Yeah.
I remember going to see it in the theater, but I was only about like 7, 8 years old when it came out. So I don't think I would have even noticed if it was that quick anyway. 'Cause
right.
I don't know.
It's not
Oh,
like it was
man.
Basic Instinct.
it's the holiday birthday noise. Oh,
Oh, Matt's here. I'm ending the stream.